Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Today, we're breaking down a heated political moment involving Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who has raised serious questions about the direction of the Republican Party and its relationship with Russia, foreign policy, and loyalty to democratic values. During this exchange, Crockett argues that something deeper is happening inside American politics, a battle over facts, accountability, and whether elected officials are willing to stand by established truths even when they become politically inconvenient. Her challenge was simple but powerful. When it comes to major issues affecting America's role in the world, will lawmakers put country before party politics? The discussion quickly turned into a wider debate about influence, political loyalty, and whether some voices within the Republican Party have shifted their positions in ways that critics believe benefit Russia's interests. So what exactly happened during this confrontation? Why did Jasmine Crockett believe this moment revealed a much bigger problem in Washington? And why did the response, or lack of response, become such a major talking point? Let's break down the exchange, look at the arguments being made from both sides, and unpack why this moment has sparked such a strong reaction across the political landscape.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. It's so interesting to me that we all swear an oath to the Constitution, and we say that we take that oath seriously, but when it comes into actually doing something that looks like preserving that oath or looks like preserving the Constitution, we get a little wobbly, and I'm not really understanding what's going on. Freedom of press doesn't look like kicking out the Washington Post, or actually the Huffington Post has been kicked out. We know that the Associated Press has been kicked out, and now the Washington Post is not going to allow for op-eds in any way if for some reason they criticize the sitting president of the United States. What this is starting to feel like is a smaller version of Russia. And I am trying to tell you that we are nothing like Russia. We are not supposed to be like Russia, but that is what we've got going on. And I'm sorry, I know that some of my colleagues still struggle with answering the question of who won the election in 2020. And you may have felt a way when you had social media checking people and saying, no, Trump did not win the election in 2020. That is absolutely factual. And unfortunately, because some people got all riled up because they believed the lies, they ended up getting locked up because they decided that they were going to believe the lies. They ended up at the Capitol on January 6th, and they were trying to tear this thing apart because they felt like their country was falling apart in front of their eyes because for whatever reason, there were people in power that were peddling a lie about the election. We also know, and some of y'all may still say that COVID was a hoax. COVID wasn't a hoax. Tell that to the over 1 million people that died under Donald Trump's first watch. It wasn't a hoax. So no, I do believe that it was okay. In fact, I do believe that it was ethically right for social media to check people because you had people that didn't know anything about science and decided that they were going to put out whatever lies or propaganda or conspiracy theories they wanted to, and people died. At some point in time, we have to evaluate what is factual, and I know that facts hurt y'all, and I just wish we could get on the same page, but we do know during the presidential election that the president would not go and participate in anything if fact-checking was going to be a part of it because he didn't want to be fact-checked. We know that the vice president got upset in his vice presidential debate when he was fact-checked. It used to be a time in this country that we as members of Congress or elected officials thought that it was okay to just tell the truth. Instead, we're pushing conspiracy theories, and some of them are killing people. It's the same thing that we have coming out of Doge. It's the reason that people are dying. It's the reason that farmers are losing their farms because we continue to peddle conspiracy theories. It is time for us to say, Mr. President, guess what? Russia invaded Ukraine. Can we at least agree on that one? Facts matter. Y'all, this is literally potentially putting us into an international crisis. We may be heading towards the next world war because we have a president that wants to pal around with Putin and wants to do everything to make him feel good, including lying about who invaded who. Mr. Chair, I got a minute left, but I really want to yield to any of my colleagues and ask them if they will say today, very basically, that when it came down to the war in Ukraine, that it was not Ukraine that invaded Russia, it was the other way around. Is there anybody in here that has enough courage to say that Russia invaded Ukraine?
You can have my time.
And this is yet the problem. This is the problem. That is not infringing upon free speech.
Will the gentlelady yield?
I will yield to the right.
Thank you, Ms. Crockett. To be clear, your challenge, I think, was across the aisle, because I think every member on your side of the aisle agrees with the obvious fact that Vladimir Putin ordered the filthy, bloody, imperialistic invasion of Ukraine. And in fact, at the time, Donald Trump as president never denied it. In fact, he praised it. He said it was, quote, an act of genius when Putin ordered the invasion of Ukraine. So I would hope some of our colleagues would consent to at least that historical point, since we think history is so important. There are people who want to relive that in our oversight report.
And therein lies the problem.
The time of the general.
The moment Jasmine Crockett put that question on the table, the reaction, or the lack of one, became the focus of the entire exchange. She asked a very direct question. Would anyone simply acknowledge the basic fact that Russia invaded Ukraine? According to the discussion, the room was met with silence. No major response, no immediate pushback, no attempt from those across the aisle to challenge the point head-on. And that silence became the argument itself. For critics of the Republican Party's current direction, this moment represented something bigger than just one question in one hearing. They argue it showed how dramatically the conversation around Ukraine and Russia has shifted within the party over recent years. Because before Donald Trump returned to the center of Republican politics, many Republican lawmakers were openly supportive of Ukraine, backing military assistance and emphasizing the importance of standing against Russian aggression. But today, critics point to a noticeable change in tone from some members of the party. The question being raised is, what caused that shift? Is it a change in foreign policy philosophy? Is it about following the direction of party leadership, or is it a sign that political loyalty has started playing a bigger role than traditional Republican positions on national security? Supporters of Crockett's argument believe this moment exposed a difficult reality for Republicans who once strongly criticized Vladimir Putin's actions, but now appear far more cautious when discussing the issue. Of course, Republicans who support Trump would argue that their views are not about supporting Russia, but about questioning America's role in foreign conflicts, how money is spent overseas, and what they believe should be America's priorities. But for Crockett and her supporters, the issue is not simply about policy disagreements. It is about whether elected officials are willing to clearly state facts, even when those facts may create political tension within their own party. And that is why this moment has created so much discussion. Because in politics, sometimes what people say matters, but sometimes what they refuse to say becomes the headline. The bigger debate now is whether this was simply a disagreement over foreign policy, or whether it represents a much deeper divide over truth, leadership, and the future direction of American politics. Let me know your thoughts. Do you believe this exchange revealed a major shift in the Republican Party's approach to Russia and Ukraine? Or do you think critics are reading too much into the moment? Share your opinion in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.